Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Columbia Business School Executive Education. My name is Jason Belland. I'll be the host for today's event, Yes, You Can Innovate, a method to unleash your creativity, coming to you today live from the Columbia campus in New York City. And I want to thank all of you for taking the time to be with us today. We have a great group of executives in the audience, members of the Columbia Business School community, and of course, folks who are part of our executive conversation on LinkedIn. After today's event, I do encourage you to join us on LinkedIn and continue this conversation and others as we go forward. One thing I'd like to note before we begin the presentation is that very much like our in-person programs, your participation is key to this learning environment. And with that in mind, I'd like you to focus on the chat window on the right-hand side of the screen. You can use that throughout the presentation to ask questions. I'll be communicating those questions to the faculty that are with us today, and we'll make sure to incorporate all of your ideas as we continue with the conversation. And now, without further delay, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Professor Geeta Johar, who's the Senior Vice Dean and the Meir Feldberg Professor of Business here at Columbia Business School. She's also the faculty director of a new program here at Columbia called Marketing and Innovation. That's starting June 11th right here in New York. Geeta, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Jason, for that great introduction. And hello, everyone, and thanks again for being here with us. My job is really to introduce you to Jacob Goldenberg, who is an expert in the area of creativity and innovation. Jacob is a professor of marketing at the School of Business Administration at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and is joining us today from Israel. He is also a visiting professor in the marketing division at Columbia Business School. So Jacob is an expert, as I said before. He's written 3 books in this area, one of which is forthcoming, and we're going to be hearing more about the forthcoming book soon. He has also, his work has been covered widely in the popular press. He teaches courses on the subject, and not only that, he's also co-founder of SIT, a systematic innovation consulting firm. So I'm going to turn to Jacob now and ask him to tell us more about his book, Inside the Box. It's a provocative title, Jacob, so can you tell us what you mean by that?
Thank you. And thank you for inviting me. Thank you all for coming. We don't have too much time, so let's try to answer the question quickly with this slide. Those of you who have glasses, please remove them. Those of you who don't use glasses, please stand up and take a few steps from the computer. If you are in a cubicle or you cannot do it, then maybe try to blink very fast with your eyes, say 10 times, 12 times, until you see something different. This is not a classroom, so I cannot know if you already saw, but inside this Einstein there is Marilyn Monroe. I hope you can all see it, and if not, then maybe Jason can send you later the slide and you can test it yourself. Anyway, those who stood up, please come back and sit with me. Metaphorically speaking, inside every Einstein there is a Marilyn Monroe, or inside every Marilyn Monroe there is an Einstein. And inside a situation, inside the problems, there are solutions, there are resources, and usually we don't see them. And we don't see them because they are right under our nose. And these solutions are the more creative solutions because we couldn't see them before. They are elusive. And they are inside the system. They are not outside the system. I'm also using this slide in order to show you already one of the benefits of this approach. Apparently, creative ideas can be pertained to what we call templates, patterns. There are patterns, there are orders in creative ideas. And this is one of them. We call it attribute dependency. We'll get back to it later. But what makes this picture unique is the fact that the visual is a function of the focus that you have. And if you are out of focus, you see Marilyn Monroe. If you're in focus, you see Einstein. So this is about inside the box, but let's first look where everything started. What is outside the box notion? I guess you're all familiar with this 9 dots puzzle. You have to connect all the 9 dots with 4 lines without leaving the paper, and I'm presenting you the solution. You see I'm drawing 4 lines, and I'm not leaving the surface. Guilford, who started the research on creativity in the 70s, he used this puzzle and he found out that only 20% of the participants were able to solve correctly this puzzle. And if you tried to solve this puzzle before, you probably remember that even if you were successful, then most of your attempts at the beginning were some kind of lines inside this imaginary box that the 9 dots draw. And you are inside the box. And then the solution comes outside the box, and from here, Guilford calling this thinking outside the box may lead you to creative ideas. The problem is that Guilford probably didn't know that in 69, reported only in 89, there was another experiment with another control group where individuals were instructed that they had to push lines outside this box in order to solve the puzzle. And guess what? Only 25% of the individuals were able to correctly solve this puzzle, and this is not a significant difference. So this is the mother of all evil. From here started this notion that creativity is outside the box, and soon enough, when this coin caught, people decided to call the creative idea as outside the box thinking. But if you think of this example, then even when there is a puzzle where there is a box, and in order to solve it, you need to think outside the box. You need to do something outside the box. It doesn't help you. So outside the box is a nice metaphor, but it cannot help you to find those elusive ideas that hide beneath the surface and inside your system. Let me give you a few examples and explain how you can approach in a more systematic way using these patterns in order to innovate. Look at this picture. Don't try it at home. They try to put this, whatever is that, it's a thing, and they don't have large enough levers, so they use 2 levers. And if you can spot, there are 2 individuals that are standing trying to balance the orange one. It's a fantastic example because there is originality. Of course, it's very dangerous, but they solve the problem with existing resources. And the question is, can we use the same patterns, the same line of thought in order to innovate without exposing ourselves to such risks? So let me share with you a real case where Procter & Gamble, Febreze, they wanted to innovate in the electric fresheners market. This was the entry strategy. And they want to innovate in order to capture a significant share in this market. And very briefly, I'll tell you about 4 hours of work using this approach of inside the box. Using the multiplication, it's a pattern. It's a way to use the logic of innovation in your own system. They decided to use multiplication. And you look at the components in the system. Here it's a very simple system. So you have a bottle of scent, and this is electric freshener. So you have a heater, you stick it into electricity, and then the heater warms up this perfume, and it evaporates in the room, and then you feel the, say, jasmine scent in the room. According to multiplication, you have to copy one of the components, and it has to be an intrinsic component. So they copied the scent. It makes sense. This is the most important component there. So now you have 2 bottles of scent. But if you spotted before, then the copies should not be identical. In the levers, there was a large one and a small one. Here, in the bottles, you have to make a change, sort of an attribute dependency. You have to make a dependency between the components, and it has to be on the most important attribute. Again, the most important attribute in scent is the scent itself. So now you have 2 bottles with 2 different scents. If you heat them, if you warm them at the same time, then it makes no sense. It could be just a larger bottle with a mixture of the 2 scents. So they decided to use the attribute dependency and heat only one at a time, every 5 minutes, for example. So you warm the right bottle for 5 minutes, then you stop and you warm the left bottle for 5 minutes. And now you have to find out why there is a benefit in such a configuration. What is it good for? For them, as experts in the field, it was very, very easy to find out. If you enter a room and you have a scent, then you habituate to the scent after 5 minutes. And if they change the smell, then you can smell a different scent in the next 5 minutes, and so on and so forth. So the new promise is that now you have a 24-hour scent and not 5-minute scent. It was introduced successfully, and they could capture a very nice share of the market right at the entrance.
Jake, can I
These are,
interrupt with a question?
Sure.
One question, this is a great example. I'm wondering if you have this method that can be used only in these kinds of somewhat incremental cases, or can your method be also used for more revolutionary ideas?
Okay, so there are two answers for that. One is that revolution is in the eye of the beholder. So the change is incremental. You have one bottle, now you have two with two heaters. It doesn't cost very much. It's an incremental change. But for the consumer, for the market, it's quite a different product, because before you could smell only 5 minutes, and now you can have the scent for 24 hours. And for them, it was a huge success, because they just captured a large market share, much more than they expected at the beginning. But I agree that this is not a revolution. This is just a successful product. So let's look at another example. This is the most famous case of creativity. If you attended a creativity conference 5 years ago, or maybe 7 years ago, probably you would have heard at least one talk about the Fosbury flop. If you can look at this right picture, you see the Fosbury style. This is how you jump today. Maybe the left one presents what we all used in the school, maybe even in the high school. This is the Caesar jump. In the high altitude of Mexico in '68, everyone used straddle, the middle one. In straddle, you jump with the face through the bar. Except one fellow, very nice one, shy fellow, long, tall, with high coordination, but he didn't look like any other jumpers. And everyone used the straddle, and this guy, Fosbury, used his technique, named after him, of course, and he's jumping back to the bar in the opposite. And all the creativity speakers back then would tell you that everyone was thinking inside the straddle box, except Fosbury, who was thinking outside the straddle box, jumping for his medal, for his gold medal. By the way, Fosbury wasn't a very good athlete, and therefore he only could take the medal, but he never set a world record. But why this is a revolution? Well, we ran a survey called experts all over the world, and there was huge agreement that the Fosbury style, the Fosbury flop, is the most dramatic change in sport, more than the Olympic movement, more the fiberglass pole, more than anyone else, everything else. This is the most important revolution in sport, because if you look at the world record, you see a dramatic change after Fosbury, and also the styles of the athletes. They became like Fosbury. They were tall with coordination, but they were not short, muscular with a good jump. Let me tell you what happened there. This is a revolution, but it's important to hear what Fosbury told me. I had the privilege to interview him. Briefly, because we don't have enough time, Fosbury was very good in Caesars. And then when everyone went to high school, he was in the team, but he couldn't jump very well with straddle. And he was about to kick out from the team. He was a very nice guy, so he made a deal with the coach that as long as he can use Caesars and stay in the average of the straddle jumpers in his team, then he's in the team. And once he's below the average, then he has to leave the team. Fosbury knows that his days are numbered, and therefore he's not going to train. So for 3 years, Fosbury is not training at all. But Fosbury was a very smart guy, and what he noticed is that he has to lift the lower part of the back, this one. So every tournament for 3 years, without practicing at all he's trying to do is to push up his lower back. And every push back is few incremental steps, and he keeps himself above the average with the Caesars. Until after 3 years, the coach leaves, and there is a new coach who sees this style with the Caesars. Fosbury never thought outside the straddle box. Fosbury was thinking inside the Caesar box. He never thought he's jumping something else than Caesars. He was just flying in the air. And then he removed his embargo with this sport athletic, and with the new coach, he started to work on his style and develop it further. But think of this, for the most important time in his life, in the athletic life, he wasn't training, and he wasn't developing anything, yet he revolutionized the field. Now, we have a question from Doris, right, Jason, about service?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so Doris, it's not easy to explain in a vivid way services in such a webinar because you need to see the pictures and you can't even see me. But yes, it's equally efficient to work on tangible products and on services. Just one example that you can have some answer, but maybe you need to research more for that. Let's look at insurance, life insurance cases. Life insurance, usually you receive the money, but you are not receiving any money. You just died, and then your spouse or your children receive the money instead of you. And there is a new idea, and AXA is about to launch it, or maybe already launched it, where if you, God forbid, diagnosed as a terminal disease, God forbid, maybe cancer, then you receive the money already. So then you can decide what you want to do with the money. Maybe you can improve your treatment and increase your odds to survive. Maybe you want just to fulfill some sort of a bucket list and use the money to have fun, or maybe you want to give it to your spouse and your family. That's fine. It's your decision. And they don't lose anything because you're in terminal disease, so they're supposed to give you the money. But they expect it to bring new consumers because this is a better deal. This is, again, the attribute dependency. The money is not a function if you're alive or not, but a function of your situation, if you're terminal disease diagnosed or not. Similar to the Marilyn Monroe and Einstein case.
Jacob, can I ask you a question at this point? So we've been talking about creativity. A very fundamental question is, what is it that makes an idea creative?
Okay, so I prepared a slide for that too, and you also have some research on that, and you know, and let us both share it with our participants, that there are two dimensions, main dimensions in creativity. One is originality. You can call it also uniqueness, but creativity is not just about being original, not just about being unique. In creativity, you have to be also useful. Idea has to be useful as well as original. If both dimensions are high, then the idea is creative. If only one is high, then it's not. For example, if you are very high on usefulness, and this is not original, then that's a great idea, and this is routine, traditional idea. And by the way, I never said that a traditional idea is not good. It's good, of course. You have to introduce traditional ideas to the marketplace. But creative idea is something else. It's also original, but it has to be also useful. What happens if your idea is only original and not useful? Then you get this kind of inventions. We have to give the credit for Shindagu. This is the Japanese art, the art of Shindagu, where they invent what they call useless inventions, but I think they meant useless inventions. And of course, this kind of idea is not meant to become a product. It's too heavy. It may spread the soup on your jacket. And if you want to cool the noodles, then there are other ways to do it. So it's a joke. By the way, we can send you later the link to this Shindagu. It's a very nice way to train yourself on originality, because you can browse many ideas on originality and see how they are not creative because they are not useful. Now, if you have original idea and it's not useful, usually you will hear laugh. But then it means that you're around the creative idea. If you can in some way increase the usefulness, maybe correct some problems, then it can become a creative idea. And we call this type of idea bizarre ideas, high on originality and low on usefulness.
Jacob, also we had talked about the insurance example in response to Doris. You showed us the example of the Febreze. Do you have any other examples that clearly illustrate the method that you're talking about?
Yes, and with that answer, maybe I should try to answer also Eric. Eric, thank you for your question. Eric asked, what about consumer research? What about asking, if I understood it, what about asking what they need, what they want? So in this case, I want to try to answer both questions. This is the DVD. And from first glance, this is a regular DVD. But this is the first one with the current design. The first DVDs, guess what? They looked like VCRs, except there was technology. So all the firms started to add a lot of features to the technology. They had computer. They could do wonders with this technology, and the DVDs, the first DVDs were bulky, heavy, with a lot of buttons, and no one knew except the innovators, those who like innovation and are tech savvy. Only they knew how to work with them. When I was looking at the data on that, I saw that this is the beginning of the drop. Those of you who are interested, you could look at the book Crossing the Chasm. After the tech savvies adopt, then there is a drop, unless the product is simpler and unless the product has high usefulness. In Philips, they identified this situation, and they wanted to solve it. So they used, again, this method, except they used a different tool, not the multiplication and not the attribute dependency. They used the displacement, the subtraction method. What they did is just removed feature by feature. Now, the reason the DVDs were large was because they had screens there. You need a screen in order to control what you see with the remote. They were the first to invent the idea that you can see and control by using the screen of the TV. So you use the remote and the screen of the TV, and you don't need to go to the DVD and press buttons or even to watch the screen of the DVD. As a result, they came out with what they call the slim line. As you can see, this is slim. And in few months, few things happened. One, all the DVDs became the same. And the second, I looked at the data online. I didn't know that they were doing this. I knew that there was a team there working using this method, but I didn't know that single-handed, they just changed the course of the sales, and instead of dropping, it went up. How do I want to connect it to Eric's question? Well, they didn't run even one market survey. In fact, even Febreze didn't run market survey. Well, they did, both of them, but not at the start stage of the ideation, but later. Let me tell you a secret, Eric and everyone. Consumers, they don't care if you first identify the problem and then you found a solution, as long as you provide a solution to the problems. In this way, you work in the opposite direction. We call it functions follow forms, in case you want to read more about it, meaning that identify configuration that fits these patterns, because creative ideas can be pertained to these patterns, then it means that the likelihood that this pattern can become eventually a successful product, the likelihood is very high. Then you search your space, your benefit space, what is it good for? Exactly as Febreze looked for why two containers of scent with different scents can be useful to consumer. Exactly the same way Philips, they started to ask themselves, why do we need a slim, why do we need a screen outside the DVD and inside the TV? And then they understood that this is simple for consumers. And then comes marketing research. Because if you have an idea, you don't know whether this is without glasses kind of 3D television or a slimline DVD that works against the pattern of feature print, but it can be very attractive to the main market, to the most of the consumers. You have to market research, of course, but you have to do it with something in mind already, with a concept in mind. And if you want to find creative ideas, then you need to think of things that even surprise the consumers. And therefore, if you ask them what do they need, the same can be done by your competitors, and there is no surprise that so many products are launched by competitors at the same time because they run marketing research. If you want to surprise the competitors, if you want to surprise your consumers, then you need to go and be one step ahead of them.
So Jacob, I think we are running out of time. This has been a really fascinating introduction to some of the methods. I heard about attribute dependency, multiplication, subtraction, and also the role of consumer research. Do you want to take the last 2 minutes to wrap this up and give us some takeaway points?
Sure. First, I didn't mention that specifically, but creativity is a skill. And you can train yourself. Of course, you can come to Columbia and join our workshops. but you can read, you can find that now there are systematic approaches to creativity, and you can train yourself. Now, of course, there is talent. If we are born with different talents, for example, Gita, you maybe are a better mathematician than me, and then you solve equations better than me, unless I keep myself busy with training myself in math, and you are doing something else. Maybe you go to swimming or whatever. And therefore, I can be better mathematician than you because there is also a skill. In everything there is talent and skill, and you are looking for the best combination. So if you think that you are not skillful, then work on that. You have the opportunity. Second, if you have a problem, then try to constrain yourself. Try not to think outside boxes, but rather try to look inside your system. What are the resources that are there? Because there are resources, and you ignore them simply because you are trained to look outside and not inside the system. Now, sometimes resources outside the systems are good. Sometimes the ideas that they will provide are very good, but they will not be creative. If you are interested in creative ideas, then it has to be inside the system. The solution is lying there waiting for you. There are orders, there are patterns in creative ideas. So don't be surprised if your idea logically is similar to something other people did, but in your field, it's a different manifestation. You can study these templates, you can study these patterns and train yourself and enhance your creativity. And we didn't touch that point, but there is a myth that creativity is more risky than traditional idea. Well, statistics that we ran, creativity failure rates are the same as within traditional ideas. Different mechanisms, but the same odds to be a failure. So creativity is quite an efficient engine of innovation because the success rates are the same as traditional ideas. And in creativity, usually because it's inside your system, inside your concept, then you don't have to import new resources or new concepts, and therefore it's more efficient because it might be even safer and it might be even with lower cost.
Thank you, Jacob.
I do want to thank you, Gita and Jacob, for a great presentation today. I know that we all enjoyed it. We had some great questions coming in, and thanks to all of you for being with us today. I do want to, before just concluding, I just want to answer one question that came in. A lot of folks were asking if they could have access to the presentation. We will be sending out an email with the archive, so you can review that and certainly share with your colleagues. And again, we thank you for being with us today, and invite you to explore further Gita's new program coming up in Marketing and Innovation beginning June 11th here in New York. And of course, please connect with us on LinkedIn and continue this conversation and others. Thanks so much. We hope to see you again at another Columbia Business School Executive Education online event, or of course here on campus in New York at one of our upcoming programs. Thanks so much. Take care.